Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in. It's another Thursday night. It means it's almost time for another week of NFL action. This is a TNF Club. Brought to you by our partners over at Pundit Arena. I am joined by the other three compadres. We've got Brian, Colum, and last but not least, Mark. Lads, welcome in. The very best of welcomes to you. How's it going? Good?
Good, yeah, good. I can't believe we're almost at the weekend again. But we have an interesting game, I think, to talk about this evening.
Absolutely. Brian, welcome in.
Good evening. Yeah, I suppose it's because of all these games that are landing on Tuesdays now. There doesn't seem like so much of a turnaround before the next slate of games starts with a good one tonight, and in particular for Mark. Interesting.
Yes, and Mark, welcome into the show. Falcha, my friend, Falcha.
Ihawa, Mabuko, Ihawa. It's good to see you gents as always, once more into the breach, dear friends. And I'm just looking forward to a night of getting no sleep ahead.
Hashtag team no sleep. I'm loving it up here, boys. Lockdown finishes tonight in Northern Ireland. So only a couple of weeks behind you boys. But so it's going to be a big weekend of NFL action. Hopefully I get to watch a bit of it as well. Before we start, anybody watching this on the Pundit Arena Facebook page or on Twitter, feel free to ask us anything within reason in terms of football knowledge, lads. We'll try and go. Ron, now I know Ron's from Northern Ireland. I think he's from Bangor or something. I think welcome, Ron. Thank you for sharing the broadcast. Let's go Patriots is something I never thought Ron I'd say in my life, and it's something I'm never going to say again.
Ron must be one of the Mark's new mates or something.
Yeah? Ron is actually one of the. He's one of the founders of the Northern Ireland NFL Supporters Club, so check them out if you're in the North on Facebook, because it's a great page as well. Lads, looking ahead to tonight, there's obviously a game tonight, well, tomorrow morning, TGIF football, I call it, instead of TNF football. 8:20 Eastern, 1:20 AM our time. We've got the Patriots, who are 6-6, going up against the 8-4 LA Rams, or wherever they play this week. Colum, what's your thoughts ahead of this game? Let's look at the Patriots first of all, right? So what's your thoughts, Colum, on this Patriots team so far this season? No Tom Brady. I was going to say no Rob Gronkowski, but I mean, they never had him last year. Like a load of the players self-isolating for the year. Are you impressed with that record of 6-6?
Given what they're dealing with, I have to say, yeah, reasonably so. I mean, this is a team that, Brady moved on. They brought Cam in, and that was always strange to me because he was such a different quarterback to Brady. And it was a guy who, is almost at times better with his legs. Brady never known for using his legs, using the nuance and his reading of the game. So I was definitely surprised by that. Add in the fact that they then lost the likes of Hightower, who opted out, who is so important to them. I mean, that's a guy who reads the game so well. One of the moments that really stands out to me over the last couple of years is when the Patriots played the Lions. I think it was a couple of years ago, and Hightower knew every single play that was coming. You could hear him call it out before they actually ran it. It was incredible to watch. And in that Super Bowl that they came back to win, that we all remember, one of the things that if you watch early on, like Belichick, he picks particular players who he really makes them his generals on the field, and Hightower was one of those guys, and he gave Hightower the permission to call a timeout if needs be. And you saw Hightower use that when the Falcons were driving, and he killed their momentum, and it ended up turning the game around. So I think, given everything they've been up against, and remember their QB was, coming back from, numerous injuries, then got COVID. To me, still doesn't look, 100%, but looks like he is certainly on the ground coming back. So yeah, given what some of the schedule that they've had, and remember they've had some good wins. They beat the Ravens when that was still an accomplishment. They beat the Cards, they beat the Dolphins. So yeah, I think at 6-6, given all of the changes that they have had and the fact that they're coming hot at the right time, as they always tend to do, reasonably impressed.
Brian, are the Patriots the closest thing that we're ever going to see here in terms of Dublin and their dynasty? And is Jim Gavin Bill Belichick, or am I completely off the cards there?
I don't know. It's a question that I've discussed with Mark many a time. Mark was always kind of saying that Brady does it on the pitch and Belichick does it on off the field. But even this season, the achievements for Belichick has been really good. I mean, their defense this year is ranked. Their offense in terms of passing is ranked 30th in the league, but yet they're still winning these games. And Belichick is finding ways to work with the players he has just on Cam. I wasn't surprised they signed him. I was surprised when they signed him because they didn't pick him up until July. I thought he would have been signed at an earlier stage. I thought they would have went with Stidham in the end because the feedback and the stuff that was being said about him was all very positive and they had high hopes for him. But they went another way and started off the season well with Cam. But certainly don't think he's the answer in the long run. But Belichick is being recognised again as the coach that he is. He's one of the best to ever be in the game, and he's put a team in position to potentially fight for a wild card. I think they might come up a bit short in the long run, judging by the games they have left. But certainly overall, I would say it's been a reasonably good season for them. But the expectations aren't just having a good season for the Patriots now. It's always about getting to the playoffs and potentially going to win the Super Bowl. So I think maybe next year with the team they have there coming back from the COVID situation, we would expect them to be back challenging for the division next year.
Brian, taking your unbiased tin hat off, do you see Cam Newton starting for the Patriots next year?
No, absolutely no. I don't see him there next year. To me, it has a feel of a stopgap year. Where they go next year, I'm not sure whether it's should have draft or they potentially try to get someone in free agency or look to make a trade, which you never know with the Patriots what way they're going to go, but certainly don't see Cam being the quarterback there next year. I think
yeah.
But I'd be
I was actually going to say, that's why I said the tin hat by accident. I actually meant Mark, so I got your name mixed up, Mark. Sorry.
Okay, fair enough.
Taking your tin hat off because you're obviously a Patriots fan.
Yeah.
I was
probably going to agree with me anyway, so we're okay.
I am, yeah. I don't think Newton is the long-term solution. I mean, after 2 games, people were saying, "Oh, give him a massive contract," and yeah, I couldn't see that happening at all. Obviously, he got COVID, missed the Kansas City game, lost a lot of momentum there. But you know, this is another season. I hate to say it as a Patriots fan because people get tired of it. That proved just what a genius Bill Belichick is. It's not just he lost Donta Hightower or Mr. February, as Patriots fans like to refer to him as, for 2 key plays in 2 Super Bowls. But obviously Brady, everyone knows about. We lost the entire starting linebacker core. Carl Van Noy went, Jamie Collins went, Donta Hightower obviously opted out of the season. And out of that, it's not the case that the Patriots have a no-name defense in the front 7. Thinking back to the famous Miami Dolphins defense, it's literally a who's who. Like, they're, Patriots fans from week to week are wondering, who's this guy now? Winovich, Guy, there are players there that are key parts, but Uche and people like this coming up and stepping up and making great plays in the front 7 is interesting. But really, the Patriots in the last few weeks have stepped up because of 2 key things. 3 key things. 1, I've gone against them 3 weeks and they've won all 3 weeks, so clearly I'm a positive influence. 2, the offense has just very simply stopped turning the ball over. From 10 turnovers in their first 7 games, they've actually limited it down to 2 in their last 5. And once Newton stopped turning the ball over, that infamous game of Buffalo driving for the win and him fumbling the ball, strangely, plus turnover ratio, Patriots win more. Belichick has said it for years. And 3rd is the Patriots secondary. Everyone knows Stephen Gilmore. Everyone knows Devin McCourty. But the way in which Duggar is integrating into the secondary, the way in which J.C. Jackson, who last year was a star but just unknown this year, all the world's media seems to recognize him. Another great undrafted pickup and development by the Patriots. That unit has worked so well. Gilmore was getting criticized at the start of the season. The last 2 weeks, who's he faced? DeAndre Hopkins and Keenan Allen. And pretty much shut the 2 of them down. So he's the reigning defensive player of the year for a reason. And the Patriots are 6-6 purely because William Belichick is that good. And he has 8 rings for a reason.
William Belichick. God himself is shining down in Mark as he talks right now. You can see there in the middle of the screens.
The halo.
Working in that sense. couple of comments there. I don't expect many points scored in this game. We'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, I actually agree with that. Jesse Jackson playing lights out on that defense. I think the thing I'll say in regards to the Patriots is this. As a fan of a team in the AFC, which I'll not name, lads, the Patriots have given me some of the worst and some of the happiest moments as an NFL fan. Like, obviously the AFC Championship game with Colum 2013 and 2015 when Brady couldn't win in Denver. He still has an awful record in Denver to this day. But whenever Brady left, it was one of the weirdest Paddy's weeks ever, because on Paddy's Day he left, he was leaving, and then a couple of days later we had all shut down. I, at least in the north anyway, was out for the year working, and at that time I thought to myself, the Pats are done. They're gonna go like they're gonna win like 3 games next year, and it's gonna be beautiful. In fact, I actually thought at that time, does Belichick walk away? Because I can't remember if the whole news, I will not talk about it, with Robert Kraft, and it was before or after that incident, but it wasn't a great few months for the Patriots, and that all was beautiful. Jim Nantz was even loving it against the Titans in January. It just was a good year, and then they're 500 this year. What can I say? It is clearly Belichick, and he's clearly a well-oiled coach in the sense he can do whatever he wants. He's taken that team to 6-6 with no Tom Brady. I think that speaks volumes. I don't know what that speaks about Tom Brady, boys. I don't know what that speaks about.
Well, I mean, look, I don't think you can separate the two. He went 11-5 with Matt Castle in 2008 when that team was absolutely loaded and they were geared up for revenge. And people always want to pick one or the other. Is it Belichick or is it Brady? I've been very consistent on this over the years. It's both. This is like trying to say, Bill Walsh would have been nothing without Joe Montana, or Joe Montana would have been nothing without Bill Walsh. Chuck Noll, Terry Bradshaw. I mean, Terry Bradshaw wasn't the most amazing quarterback, so it doesn't relate the same way. Shanahan and Elway, they got to the Super Bowl from their complementary parts, and a lot of Terrell Davis. Don't just try to separate it all and say it was all Belichick or it's all Brady. It's always been both of them. There's no quarterback in history that's put their team in a winning position in the fourth quarter of 9 different Super Bowls. That's the quarterback. The coach, and you could say actually both Super Bowls against the Rams, is the reason why ultimately the Patriots end up winning those games. I could go on about this for 5 hours, guys. Nobody wants to hear me wax lyrically about Belichick and Brady, but don't try and say it's one or the other, because it's not, and it never will be.
Well, before we actually move on and look at the Rams, boys, I really want to make one point, if you don't mind. I'm not talking about Mayo or Tipperary here. I'm being serious. On Monday night, I said the Steelers would lose, and he's all laughed at me. He's all started laughing.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. Just putting.
Yes, we were wrong.
That's the beauty of this league.
I was going nuts like a 12-year-old girl high at 1 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, I was right. And sure, everyone's in bed. Like, no one cares. But buzzing. 11-1. They're not good value for that, boys. We all know who's the up-and-coming team in that division. And they won on Tuesday night. Sorry, they won on Tuesday morning our time against the San Francisco 49ers. I love how I got the Bills into that conversation. Bills Steelers next weekend. Yeah.
Sunday night football.
Somebody get Michael a Josh Allen jersey for Christmas, please.
I can't wear one. I can't wear one. Rams, boys. Let's look at the Rams really quickly before we look at the actual matchup. Rams 8-4. A couple of weeks ago, Dave. I don't know how many have won the bounce column, but they're on a good run at the minute. I think a real dark horse for the NFC, big time.
They're an interesting team. I mean, you talk about the Steelers being good value. Are the Rams good value? 4 of those 8 wins have come against the NFC East. So bear that in mind when we talk about the 8-4 Rams. And early on when the NFC East was particularly bad, before any of the teams got any sort of form. Goff has been very up and down. He's so bad a few weeks ago that McVay even had a go at him, which tells a lot. Defense has been really good. They bring in a new DC and he seems to have taken over from Wade Phillips. Beloved Wade, and they haven't missed a beat there. But they have had some issues when it comes to mobile QBs. And I think we won't see Cam throw a lot tonight. I expect you will see an awful lot on the ground because their secondary is very good. Like it's outstandingly good, and I have no doubt that Belichick will plan for that. I think the interesting thing is McVay is, I think, 34 now. Belichick is 68. I reckon Belichick goes on longer than Fergie, but he will do the similar sort of things tonight that he did in the Super Bowl, I would imagine, to confuse Goff. And Goff he's 1-4 when he's been blitzed more than 20 times in a game. So I reckon you will see that. Belichick is a man who had Sam Darnold seeing ghosts, and we saw what happened to Goff in the Super Bowl. I imagine you see very similar things to tonight. The other thing is the Rams really need to sort out their special teams. It is an area where the Patriots have been ridiculously strong. And against the Cards, the Rams, they fumbled a punt return, they missed a field goal. You have to play clean football against the Patriots. That is the best way to beat them. And I wonder, the interesting ththing about this as well is that the Rams were at home, but the Patriots played in that stadium on Sunday, put a 45-point beat down on the Chargers, and then just hung out in California, whereas the Rams had to travel. So it's a strange affair when the home team actually had to travel more. And that's one of the reasons I think this is such an interesting matchup this evening.
So just on the season itself, just on the season itself for the Rams now, and I know head coaches always say we take it one game at a time, and having beaten the NFC East, they've also beaten the Seattle Seahawks. And if you look at the schedule coming up, they play the Jets next week. So I think we'd all agree the Rams will win that game. And then they play Seattle. If they win this game tonight, effectively that game in 2 weeks decides the division. If the Rams win that game, they win the division. So tonight to me is the most important game of the season for the Rams. By far. If they win tonight, realistically, they're going to take care of business against the Jets next week. And then you go into Seattle to win the division, and you knock Seattle back into the wild card. So it really is a key game for them. You're right about Goff. He's been inconsistent all season. But they have got 3 running backs this year, Akers, Henderson, 2 in particular, who've been really good. And for the past few years, they've been so reliant on Gordon that they've decided to move in another direction. And they've come up good this year overall. You know, their running game has been very good, which takes the pressure off Goff and Kupp and Reynolds, and the rookies that have come in at wide receiver have done really well. So it's going to be a difficult night, in my opinion, for the Patriots.
Yeah, guys. I mean, it isn't going to be easy for the Patriots. I'm not saying I have to vote against them because success seems to have bred in the Rams, the Ravens, Cards, and last week's game, just based on how I've decided. But Goff is the second worst quarterback against the blitz this year in the NFL. The worst is actually Tom Brady. So that's illustrious company in one respect. But they do have a stronger running game. Brian already alludes to their running backs have been performing extremely well. Cooper Kupp is one of my favorite wide receivers in the NFL. I feel like he should just be a Patriots wide receiver, the way he plays, his general size and everything. Goff is a funny character this season. I mean, yes, of course, everyone's going to draw allusions to the Super Bowl. Personally, I love the name the Rams, whether it's St. Louis or Los Angeles. They're 2 great Super Bowl memories for me personally. But he rightly got called out in that, I think it was the Washington game. He had thrown 2 interceptions and a fumble. He'd had a pretty awful game. McVay publicly named and shamed him. I think they'd had 10 turnovers in 4 games at that point. But have they turned it around? They're coming off probably their most complete performance last week against the Cards. They played very hard against the Bills, obviously, and they are capable of stepping up. They have a serious defense. Aaron Donald, I mean, we haven't said his name yet, but is still, in my mind, the premium defensive player in the NFL. He deserves your respect on each and every snap, and he can ruin and wreck a game when he so chooses. Belichick has a history of managing those type of players, whether it's a Julius Peppers, whether it's a J.J. Watt, with double teams and just making sure he doesn't ruin your game. But there's enough strength in the rest of the Rams defense that is going to cause the Patriots problems if they don't get that limited offensive game going. I mean, it's going to be a run game pretty much, and that's the challenge. But I do love, Colum, you calling out their special teams. One of the underrated things was last season, John Fazell, who's been the long-time Rams special teams coach, actually left to join Mike McCarthy's staff and the Cowboys. John Fazell's probably been one of the best special teams coaches in the league for a number of years. He's been with the Rams since 2012. I remember them winning games against the Seahawks almost purely with special teams kind of in special individual plays, shall we say. The punt return where they faked it going one direction springs particularly to mind. And he's had great players like Greg the Leg, etc., and Johnny Hecker to implement his plans. But they're now dealing with a first-year specials team coach, John Bonamego, and they are showing up. And if the Patriots special teams show up like they did last week against the Chargers, that isn't a great matchup. But the fact I have to go to special teams to find somewhere we've got a definitive edge is a little bit disconcerting in the first thing.
I go back to what you said there, Mark, about like doesn't matter if it's Los Angeles or St. Louis. I think the thing that matters is it's memories and it's over, and that's the beauty about life. Sometimes it's all over. The Rams really disappointed me a couple of years ago whenever they only scored 3 points against, in my opinion, the worst Patriots team to ever get to the Super Bowl. Forget about winning or losing one. Disgrace. It actually nearly put me off the sport, boys. That's how much.
Was that the Patriots team that beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game? One of the best games of all time.
Washed up, Brady. Hand it off. Go on, hand it off there. I think it just didn't help for a couple of. I mean, that Falcons game killed me because as a teacher, I had to go into work the next day after that with no sleep, and I think it took me a couple of years to recover. I think it took me until March until Brady left to actually recover. But look, the Rams are the Rams. The Patriots are the Patriots. I'm really impressed. Not just by the Rams offense, but before I give my game pick, because I know everybody's waiting for it after Monday night's extravaganza. Really, and I'm sort of repeat what you boys said. Aaron Donald has got the second most sacks in the NFL, 11 on the season.
Yeah,
so good. I mean, he would obviously walk into any team, but I would love him in my team. So good, man. And I think a guy that's going to come up big in this game, and I'll talk about it more in a minute. Robert Woods. A guy that played very well, probably one of the best players in that Super Bowl, and a guy that's maybe him, Kupp, and Goff that have stayed integral in that team in the last 2 to 3 seasons. I love Robert Woods, I really do, and I think he brings an edge to that offense. So for me, it's not really about elements. I don't think that's. I mean, I can understand your point, Colin, about like the fact that Patriots are staying in California. Can Robert Kraft not afford to fly his jet across the country for a couple of hours? He's got 2, hasn't he? So it's interesting in that sense. I mean, I don't think that's going to make a massive difference. I just think the Rams are the better football team. So I guess on that note, Colum, who have you got tonight? Well, first of all, you're going to stay up? TGIF.
I might, because it is that intriguing. I really think this is another kind of chess match. And when it comes to chess matches, there is only one winner, and that is Bill Belichick. I picked them on Sunday. I was the only one who said they would do a number on the Chargers, and they did.
They scored 45 points.
Yeah, they scored 45. Plus, they shut Herbert down first time without a touchdown and picked him off twice. Cam Newton might be 3-6 on Thursday Night Football. Bill Belichick is 10-1, and he is going 11-1 this evening in a low-scoring game. But he wants to bring that Patriots team to the playoffs. They have more riding on this, as Brian said. They have a game. The Rams have a game with the Jets to look forward to. So I think the Patriots will just about edge it.
Yeah, I know, like you're saying, that the Patriots scored 45 points last weekend, but Mark and due to the contribution from special teams and the Cam situation, I think what did he show for 69, 70 yards? I know he necessarily didn't have to because the game was won, but there is games this season where he just hasn't delivered. You know, up to last week, he'd only averaged around 20 points per game, which was the worst Patriots record for 20 years offensively. And to my point earlier, I think the Rams will know this is a massive opportunity to put themselves in a position to win the division in 2 weeks and take away from Seattle. So for me, and Michael has alluded to it. Woods, Reynolds, the running backs, like offensively, they're averaging 28 points a game. They put up big numbers last week on the cards. So for me, I don't think the Patriots, whilst it might be close for a couple of quarters, I don't think inevitably they'll be able to live with that Rams offense, and I think the Rams will win.
Robert Woods will be taken out by Stephon Gilmore. Cooper Kupp will be taken out by JC Jackson. Duggar will take out Higbee. And I pray the front seven will hold up against the run game. The Patriots have 17 players left from that famous Super Bowl win. The problem is none of them are really starters. You think about that drive where Gronkowski caught that famous catch. The Patriots went big, and they put out Dwayne Allen and Rob Gronkowski, James Devlin, Julian Edelman, and Chris Hogan, and split them all out and going 5 wide. None of those were playing. Tom Brady's not playing. Our 2 starting tackles from that game are not playing. Whereas on the Rams side, we're talking about much more talented players who are playing. Their starters are playing. Their stars are there still. I last week could not see the Giants beating the Seattle Seahawks. I was wrong. I could not see the beating the Chargers. I was wrong. I could not see the Washington football team beating the Pittsburgh Steelers. I was wrong. Tonight, I really can't see the Patriots beating the Los Angeles Rams, and I look forward to hopefully being wrong once more again.
Wow. Okay. Well, look, lads, your boy's getting the picks. I think I got one thing wrong, one big thing wrong in the last 4 or 5 weeks. So, look, let me just lay it out to you right now, boys. That Patriots team are going to come bust on national TV tonight. I started off this show thinking it would be tight, but let's be honest. I mean, Colum, if you needed Cam Newton to go down the field to save your life, would you trust him? I know we're biased, but would you trust him?
I don't think they'll need him to.
They won't need him, but that's the problem with the Patriots. For somebody sitting at 1:20 in the morning, do I want to see Bill hand it off? Go on, just hand it off. No. When you've got a team like Jared Goff, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, et al., before you even start talking about Cam Akers, that's a team of excitement, boys. That's a team that's going to go down the field tonight and on each possession score more points than the Patriots. I think in every possession, in every quarter, I think the Rams win by 10 to 14 points. I don't think Newton will have a good game.
Michael, you talked about a team with Jared Goff. It's going to sound mean, but I'm going to give you a couple of comparisons to Jared Goff. Dan Fouts, Boomer Esiason, Donovan McNabb, even Matt Ryan, for Christ's sake. Players who look good, can sometimes turn it on, can sometimes be so impressive, but would you trust them to win a Super Bowl? Simple answer is no.
I tell you what, Mark, I take Boomer to start for the Broncos this weekend right now. In his current condition.
I think you're doing Matt Ryan. I think you're doing Matt Ryan a disservice there. That Super Bowl was there in their hands.
It was a disgrace. Yeah, your spawn was a disgrace.
They should have played the run game, kicked the field goal up by 10 2 minutes ago.
Guys, you're absolutely right, but unfortunately, Matt Ryan and Kyle Shanahan messed up, and we witnessed the greatest comeback in the Super Bowl history just after the greatest comeback we did in the Seahawks game by 10 points. Just throwing it out there and everything. It's quite enjoyable. Quite enjoyable.
The worst night of my life. This is like a Deputy Slag moment. I really want to shout something, but I can't. I can't agree with what you're saying. It's so bad. Like, no, nobody liked that. You do realize nobody enjoyed that.
Like, people
really want to Premier League this year. Everybody be like,
but Michael, I mean, in fairness, and I know I didn't enjoy it, but can I respect it? I mean, what and Mark said a little bit earlier on, right, about like you can't separate Brady and Belichick. I think there is some truth to that, but only one of them was in the Hall of Fame before the other even started playing the game, and he's game plan from the Super Bowl made it in. His game plan from the last Super Bowl should have made it in because that Rams team were more talked about than the Broncos team against the Seahawks, and he absolutely took it away. They scored 3 points. That's what you're up against, and I just don't know if the Rams have the know-how to do it tonight. I mean, I don't think that, you know, the Patriots aren't going to win it this season. Don't get me wrong, but you need more. You need more to beat them. And I think that watch how he you know, game plans this evening. I think it'll be a fascinating watch.
Yeah. Just on that, Colum, fair play as well, because it wasn't just Belichick's game plan in that. Wade Phillips' game plan for the Rams and how they shut down the Patriots for the game equally deserves massive credit right from that opening drive the whole way through. But
it wasn't Wade Phillips. And Wade Phillips did the exact same for the Broncos against the Panthers.
He did, and that was the famous game where Brady got hit 21 times in the one game, and Jesus, how he wasn't seeing stars, I don't know. But in one last defense of Tom Brady, and yes, I love him, and yes, I would marry him, and, you know, Giselle, get out of the bed, basically. But Tom Brady has a Hall of Fame career, whether you want to take 2000 to 2010 or 2010 to 2020. Either way, both Hall of Fame careers. Give me one other quarterback who has two of them. That's what I would say to you.
Michael, what you said.
Sorry,
Michael, you said about that Super Bowl being one of the most disappointing Super Bowls in years. I think most neutral fans, well, people who went up for the Patriots, would say we actually lost out on potentially a great Super Bowl because the Saints really should have won that championship game against the Rams, and they were robbed by a scandalous refereeing decision, and everybody would have loved to see a Saints Patriots Super Bowl with Breeze going.
Well, at least we know one thing, Brian. At least you know one thing. Be a damn long time before we see the Patriots in Super Bowl again, and that's a lovely.
Well, let's loop back on that in a couple of years, Michael.
You've had your fun. You've had your fun.
Michael, you just be careful with these comments because you know, these things have a habit of returning. Everything is recorded these days.
I'm trying to remember what Brendan Grace's character was called in Father Ted, but and I've had my fun. That's all that matters.
Mark, I believe you have to leave us right now. However, we won't. You know, we will obviously miss you. I hope you get absolutely slaughtered tonight. I'm only joking.
I've got to start the pre-game routine, but yes, talk to you all boys soon. Talk to you on the Sunday night show, and take it easy.
See you on Sunday, mate. Cheers. Appreciate you coming on. And then there were three, boys. Lads, we're going to try and round this off with a humorous discussion. Brian, you might realize this. Anybody that doesn't watch this, me and Colum do a Broncos thing. And I've been joking for weeks that Sunday Night Football game Colum last week should have been flexed for weeks because, you know, why are the Broncos on Sunday Night Football when nobody wants to watch them? Regardless, I know they're playing the Chiefs, but anyway, what the point is, I'll start with you, Brian. The Cowboys have been flexed out for the Browns. Is this the most 2020 thing ever? Do you think it's funny, or do you think it's the right decision?
It's the first time the Cowboys have ever been flexed out of a Sunday night game. No matter what the circumstances are during the season, they still draw a great crowd in terms of the general public in the US who watch the game. But I joked about it last week when I saw the schedule. I had a chat with a Packers fan as it happens, and he said, have you seen what game is due for that Sunday? Because the Chiefs are actually playing the Saints that day as well, but obviously CBS don't want to give that game up. And my Giants have been flexed into Sunday Night Football, which means we're on the bubble for the playoffs and we're important again. So, yeah, it would have been even more interesting if Beckham had been available to play in terms of the hype building up to that Sunday night game. But yeah, they've taken the 49ers Cowboys out, Browns at Giants, and yeah, that'll be a difficult game, but certainly a game that the Giants would have a chance to win. Please, God.
Colum, your thoughts on thanks to the Giants. Thanks for getting the Giants into that, Brian. Colum, your thoughts on this whole flex, and also, Colum, a huge game this week on Sunday Night Football. We've got my Buffalo Bills going up against the 11-1 Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, we'll talk about it more on Sunday.
Yeah, well, really, I mean, this has been coming for quite some time. Jerry Jones has long had a history of being notorious, but he appears this season to be making just in more incredulous claims than ever before. We saw his claim recently that the Broncos were no more disadvantaged by having Hinton play at QB than he had his Cowboys had been, losing a few players to injury. It hasn't. Nothing has gone right for them this year. It was really sad to see Dak's injury because he was playing so well, but even when Dak was playing well, the Cowboys weren't playing well. We discussed Zeke at the weekend, and he doesn't obviously look the same player without Dak, because teams can focus on him. I think. Will Mike McCarthy stay beyond one season? That's a real question that will need to be answered. I don't think it's all on him. I think whoever Jerry brings in, it just won't work because Jerry wants to be involved in everything, but if like as a Broncos fan, remember we saved Jerry Jones from himself. We moved up to get Paxton Lynch when he wanted to take him, and things could have been so different there. I think that the heyday of the Cowboys and that 90s team, they were incredible. And some of the stories, I mean, those lads would have partied hard with Diego Maradona. They're wonderful stories about what the Cowboys, they played hard and partied harder. But those days, those halcyon days are long gone. And I think their biggest issue is Jerry Jones because he is an albatross around that team's neck.
Colum, I have to round this off now, lads, but look, talk about this 90s. I think you've actually summed it up there. That 90s Cowboys team, I was still in that base high. Do you know what I mean? Like, there was no Good Friday agreement. Like, there was no Euro for a start. Lads, that is a generation ago.
They had good years. Like a couple of years back, I think they finished 13-3.
But there's plenty of teams that have a good year.
They were heavy favourites in going to the playoffs. Yeah, I know, but it just made it. It hasn't been all bad for them. There has been some good. The expectations are so
there
high.
There have been. That is true, Brian. But I think it is 25 years since they made the NFC Championship game. Which, when you consider like what a story kind of franchise it is and the history that they have, and the fact that they are always on prime time, that they are America's team. It is staggering that it's a quarter of a century since they were in the NFC Championship game. It is just that it's one of those stats that you really kind of go, that can't be right.
Let's come back to this on our main broadcast, gentlemen. Actually, before we do that, the full 10 yards. Put a comment up there. Patriots performed better or worse tonight than Michael on the full 10 yards questions quiz. Lads, I done a quiz tonight and I let the island of Ireland, both north and south, down. That's all I'm going to say. Well done to the lads that won. that everybody died. And it was good crack. I'd recommend you boys go on. It was good. It was a Kahoot quiz. I got the first two right, and I thought, this could be. Didn't work out, but it was good crack. I enjoyed it, lads. Right. Join us.
We'll have to send another
round. Sunday, the Irish NFL show Sunday at 12 p.m. with all of us. Looking forward to it, lads. It's going to be a big Sunday, obviously, with the huge game on Sunday Night Football. There's a couple of really good games. The Broncos Colum play early on Sunday, so we can go to bed early crying. And do the Giants play on Sunday, Brian? Or are they going to turn up this week after that?
And hopefully we do. Yeah, we've got another difficult game. We're playing the Cardinals at home. So I'd imagine it'll be all focused again on the defensive performance in order to slow Mr. Murray down, and hopefully our quarterback will be back on Sunday as well to get a bit more fire out of the offense.
Something tells me, boys.
And then obviously we just hope at Washington. I'm just going to say we hope Washington lose straight afterwards in Arizona against the 49ers. Oh yeah,
Arizona.
Just going to say that on Sunday.
That is it, boys. It's been good. We'll see you on Sunday, and thanks for your time. Have a good one.
Then.
Yeah.
Keep her lit, gentlemen. Have a good night.
Enjoy the game.
And thanks to everybody who's watched. See you later.